After returning from a girls' trip, my fiancée asked me for an open relationship. I kicked her out immediately. My fiancée and I had spent 5 years of our lives together, and until recently, everything seemed to be going smoothly. We met in college in our sophomore year and quickly discovered we connected in 1,000 ways. Her intelligence, her sense of humor, and that energy of hers that made you want to be by her side. We started as friends, but in less time than I imagined, our relationship took a turn and became something much deeper. A couple of years later, we were already living together, sharing expenses, dreaming of the future, and naturally, we got engaged. When I proposed last year, she said yes without hesitation. We immediately planned to buy a house, talked about children, and building the life project we believed was solid. Everything changed the day she returned from a week-long trip with her girlfriends. Before she left, she was enthusiastic. She talked non-stop about the plans, the places they would visit, and what a great time they would have. I encouraged her, wished her the best, and thought the break would do her good. When she came back, something felt off. Normally, after a few days apart, you're greeted with a big smile, a hug, and 1,000 travel stories. This time, she didn't even look at me, leaving her suitcase by the door. She just shrugged and said everything had gone well before heading to the bedroom. That night, during dinner, she barely touched her food. She remained almost silent, absorbed in her phone screen. It wasn't her. In the following days, her obsession with her phone grew. She consulted it non-stop, almost always with her back to me, and I noticed she had started to avoid eye contact. Conversations became strange, distant. Physical affection, which used to be common, disappeared as if an invisible wall existed between us. I tried to give her space, convinced that relationships aren't perfect and that sometimes a little distance helps regain closeness, but the gap widened even more. One evening, shortly after dinner, I gathered my courage and asked if something was bothering her. She replied that she was fine and that I was imagining things. However, her tone didn't match her words. It seemed like she was trying to persuade herself of what she was telling me. For days, I observed disturbing patterns, late-night messages, her gesture of hiding the phone when entering a room, her averted gaze. I didn't want to seem paranoid, so I focused on work, convinced that if there was something serious, she would eventually clarify it. But I knew something big was coming, and so it was. One afternoon, upon arriving home from work, she asked to talk. I felt my heart sink. We need to talk. Usually foreshadows bad news. I sat down next to her on the sofa. The tension was palpable. She fiddled with her hands, avoided my eyes, and her seemingly serene voice betrayed nervousness. "I've been thinking a lot about our relationship," she began. I raised an eyebrow and waited. When I was on the trip, some friends told me how their relationships had improved by giving each other more freedom and fully trusting each other. I repeated those words in my mind. Freedom and trust. What was she talking about? She sighed as if practicing a speech, looked at the wall, and after a deep breath blurted out, "I think we should consider an open relationship." My brain went blank. "Excuse me?" I managed to articulate louder than I intended. "I've been thinking about it for a while," she continued. "I've talked to friends who practice it, and they are more united than ever. They say it has helped them grow together." I shook my head, stunned. "And you think I would agree? That I would accept this?" I asked, my voice on the verge of breaking. Her expression softened, as if trying to show patience. "You don't have to decide right now. I just want us to discuss it and see if it could work for us." I couldn't respond. I felt betrayed, confused, and hurt. It wasn't just my fiancé who ceased to be the person I knew, but also the future we had built together. In that instant, I understood that after 5 years of plans and promises, our story was taking a course neither of us had anticipated. And her proposal of freedom, far from uniting us, opened a chasm that forever changed who we were and who we were going to be. 5 years have passed since we started this story together, and I never imagined that one day I would find myself facing this conversation. I believed our relationship was progressing naturally, from college classmates to roommates to becoming a couple, then engaged and planning a future with a house and perhaps children. Everything seemed to fit, but that night, while having dinner on the sofa, she dropped a proposal that left me frozen. "It's not just about sleeping with other people," she said without taking her eyes off her phone screen. "It's about exploring who we are, growing without stagnation." Listening to her words, I felt an indescribable knot in my chest. 5 years of plans, of shared dreams. When had this idea crept into her head? I closed my eyes for an instant, trying to process what I had heard. I asked her where this had come from, if she felt unhappy, or if she thought something was missing in our relationship. She shook her head, assuring me that she loved me, that we were fine, but that she wanted to try something new to make our life together even better. I insisted, "If everything is going so well, why propose this now?" Her response made me incredulous. "It's not an experiment or a game," she replied calmly. "It's an evolution." "We're not Pokemon that change form overnight," I shot back. I leaned towards her, squinting, and asked if she had met someone during her trip with her friends. Her head lifted in an almost offended gesture. "How could I betray you like that?" she answered, quickly denying it. "There's no one else, I swear to you," she insisted, moving from the abstract explanation to a personal promise. "There's no third person, it's just ideas I've been thinking about." I pulled away, crossed my arms, and watched her closely. Her expression was rigid, forcing a calmness that was unconvincing. I told her I needed time to digest it. I got up and went to the bedroom. I sat facing the wall in silence, my head full of questions. Was it a joke, a passing delusion, or something truly serious? Did she not know me well enough to know what I would never accept? After an hour, I returned to the living room. She was still there, sliding her thumb across the screen as if nothing had happened. I stood in the doorway, took a deep breath, and stated firmly, "I can't do this. An open relationship doesn't interest me, and I don't think it ever will." She put her phone down on the coffee table and looked at me, astonished. "Maybe we should take some distance to see if we want different things," she proposed in a measured voice. That phrase was the last straw. It was unacceptable to me that she planned to dismantle what we had built just to try something out. I yelled, "If you want an open relationship, then you are no longer the person I thought you were. And I'm not staying here while you destroy everything," she asked me, her voice trembling, if that meant I was kicking her out. I nodded without hesitation. "Pack your bags." Her eyes filled with tears, and she burst into sobs. She wanted to explain, to show that she only wanted to talk about it, that she didn't mean to hurt me. But I cut her off. "There's nothing to discuss. This is not something I would even consider." She got up with difficulty, grabbed her purse, and without looking at me, crossed the door with her face soaked with tears. I stood in the living room, contemplating the empty space where her things had been a moment ago. The jacket hanging on the back of the chair, the coffee cups next to the sofa, those small untidinesses that defined her. The absence of her presence made me feel an absolute emptiness. The next day, before I could even have coffee, my phone began vibrating incessantly. Text messages, missed calls, voice notes. Her name appeared everywhere. I read a, "Can we talk, please?" A little later, another, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, I just want to explain." The voice notes were more desperate. In one fragment, her voice was trembling. "I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but please give me a chance to talk." Suddenly, my friends started calling me. "Are you okay? What happened?" Apparently, they had heard something about the idea of an open relationship. They attributed the blame to the bad influences of her group of friends during the trip. One of them even told me they didn't believe she really meant it, that it was just a momentary impulse. I asked them not to interfere. I didn't want any more excuses or justifications. My family, on the other hand, rallied around me. My mother kept repeating that I had dodged a bullet, and my father, who rarely gets involved in my affairs, told me I did the right thing by sticking to my principles. Their support was a balm. as deep down I was increasingly doubting myself. In contrast, her family criticized me. Her mother called to implore me to give her another chance, convinced that it was a misunderstanding. Her father tried to make me feel guilty, claiming I was throwing away a beautiful relationship over a simple misunderstanding about sleeping with other people. How was that a misunderstanding? The most painful thing was discovering that some mutual friends called me an exaggerator, arguing that she was just being honest. Yes, honesty is valuable, but nothing justifies abruptly presenting me with a proposal contrary to everything we had been. One friend, let's call him Dean, made me the most uncomfortable, insisting that maybe I should relax and open my mind. His comments only increased my frustration, as every opposing voice reminded me how alone I felt at that crossroads. He kept telling me that I was old-fashioned, and that she should be more open-minded. He told me it was already 2024, that couple relationships weren't black and white anymore. I couldn't believe it. He, who had witnessed my pain, was the first to defend her. Then Hannah, one of her closest friends, inadvertently let slip that my ex had commented on the idea of an open relationship before her trip. Apparently, during a girls' night a few months ago, she mentioned it as a joke, and they all laughed. That confession made me feel even worse. They left me in the dark while she tested the waters behind my back. I spent the following days trying to decide what to do. She wouldn't stop calling and texting, begging me to see her to talk. A part of me wanted to hear her explanations. The other, however, was too hurt and angry. How could I trust someone capable of dropping a bomb like that on our relationship just like that? I felt trapped in limbo. I didn't want to hear any more excuses, but the uncertainty of not getting answers was gnawing at me. What if there was something else I didn't know? At night, I tossed and turned on the sofa, thinking about whether or not to call her. Every time I reached for my mobile, I stopped. In the end, a couple of close friends convinced me. "If you don't close this chapter, it will eat you up inside," one warned me. They were right. I decided to agree to the meeting to find out the truth, because something told me there was more to her story. We arranged to meet at a cafe. I arrived 10 minutes early to find a table and mentally prepare myself. I was nervous. I wanted everything to end as quickly as possible. When she walked in, she barely looked like she had slept. Her hair somewhat messy, her makeup smudged, and palpable stress in her gaze. For an instant, I felt pity, but I reminded myself of the reason for this meeting. We sat across from each other, and after a silence charged with tension, she began to apologize. She admitted she had handled everything poorly and swore she never meant to hurt me. She denied having planned the open relationship beforehand. She said her friends discussed it during the trip, and she got carried away by the excitement of the moment, that for her, everything was hypothetical and she never took it seriously. "I love you and I value what we have. I would never have brought something like that up out of the blue without talking to you first," she added through tears. I asked her why she hadn't told me until after returning from that trip with her friends. She nodded nervously and blurted out, "I didn't know how to tell you." But something in her account didn't add up, so I asked almost without thinking, "Can I see your phone?" Her face instantly changed. Her skin paled. She hesitated for a second and then handed it to me, perhaps trusting that I wouldn't check it. Normally, I don't invade others' privacy, but that time I succumbed to my intuition. Something told me I had to check. With a pounding heart, I opened her messages and immediately found what I was looking for. She had been chatting with a stranger. Conversations full of flirting, late-night messages, and suggestive comments about seeing each other again. Her replies, with laughing emojis and affectionate terms like baby or gorgeous, left no room for doubt. This wasn't just curiosity or an innocent joke. I put the phone down on the table and looked at her. She started sobbing, trying to minimize it. "It's not what it looks like. I was joking. It was a mistake." But the damage was done. I told her in a firm voice, it wasn't just an idea to explore together. You had already started it. You became an accomplice to that infidelity. She pleaded for forgiveness. She begged me not to throw everything away over a stupid mistake. She promised to do anything to fix it. I remained silent, controlling the rage that was burning inside me. Finally, I stood up. You made a decision by allowing it. I'm making mine. It's over now. Her words sounded more rehearsed than sincere, as if reciting a script to achieve my forgiveness. She repeated the same phrases over and over, but her tone lacked genuine remorse. I only perceived fear. Fear of the consequences, of loneliness, of losing the comfort of what we had built together. Then I understood that no matter how much she talked, it no longer mattered. The damage was already done. That afternoon at the cafe was decisive. While listening to her, her gaze avoided mine, and her voice trembled. I realized I couldn't allow myself to be dragged down by her pleas, or let her play with my feelings any longer. As I left there, I knew everything was over. That same night, I blocked her number and deleted her from all my social media. I didn't want any news of her, or to know what she was doing. For a few days, peace reigned. I enjoyed the tranquility of not expecting calls or notifications. But suddenly, messages arrived from our mutual friends. They had heard about what happened at the cafe and wanted to offer their support. Apparently, the same people who were defending her before had now changed their minds. A friend confessed to me that she had started dating that guy barely after we broke up, and the worst part was discovering it through others. According to them, she was posting photos of the new couple on her social media, adorned with phrases like, "When you find someone who truly understands you." Everything seemed too forced, an attempt to prove something. Several friends commented that upon receiving criticism, she ended up blocking them, and after a week, she completely disappeared from Instagram and Facebook. Then the rumor started circulating that he had dumped her and that she was losing it. It was spread that I had cheated and used her, although it didn't surprise me. It seemed like karma was settling the score. I didn't feel remorse. It may sound petty, but seeing the situation turn around relieved me. After all, you can't treat someone with such coldness and expect everything to stay the same. Some of our friends stopped talking to her, accusing her of toxic behavior, spreading lies about me, and playing the victim. She, for her part, told anyone who would listen that I had been manipulative and ungrateful. A version few believed when they found out that he and she had been together just a day after our breakup. It was then that those same people who had reproached me for exaggerating apologized. They admitted they had underestimated the reality of what happened. I told them I didn't care about the past. I appreciated their support but didn't want to delve into blame. Still blocked on her main line, she continued trying to communicate from different numbers. She even left me a voicemail begging for a second chance, confessing how much she loved me and that she was willing to fix everything. I didn't reply. There was no longer any interest in resuming anything. I then undertook the total cleanup. I gathered the rest of her belongings that were still in the apartment. That night she took the essentials, but tons of loose things remained. Clothes in the closet, toiletries in the bathroom, the coffee mug she loved so much, and several books on the nightstand. Packing each item was a clash of emotions. Every detail reminded me of the life we had shared. For an instant I doubted if I was being excessive, but thinking about the messages I discovered on her mobile, everything became clear. I sent her a message from a disposable number. "Come get your things before Friday, or they will be donated." 2 days later she showed up with eyes swollen from crying. I didn't let her in. I handed her the boxes at the door and turned away. She neither argued nor pleaded. She stood silent for a few seconds, then left. It was the last time I saw her in person. There were still shared accounts and subscriptions, Netflix, Spotify, utility bills. I spent a week changing passwords and canceling everything that united us. It wasn't an act of spite, but the necessity of a new beginning. The most difficult thing was managing mutual friends. Several had distanced themselves from her, but others preferred to remain neutral. I understood their position. No one wants to choose sides. However, for me, there was no middle ground. To those who were still in contact with her, I sincerely asked them to understand my position. Most respected my decision, although a few considered me dramatic. "How can you erase 5 years of your life?" they asked me. I knew it was exactly what I needed. In time, the stories she told stopped bothering me. I wasn't interested in cleaning up my image or convincing those who didn't want to listen. Those who truly mattered already knew the truth. Little by little, the noise died down. Her name stopped appearing in our conversations, and mediation requests ceased. It was as if she had simply vanished from my world, and honestly, that was all I wanted from the beginning, to disappear from her life and start building mine without shadows of the past.